Hi, and welcome to this presentation for the Gamification Course Tools software for Blackboard Learn. My name is Szymon Machajewski, and I've been in the developer community for a while for Blackboard. And this particular project is dear in my heart because it touches on some major issues in education today. The problem domain that we're addressing is the intrinsic motivation of students, program completion, and putting grades in a proper place when it comes to extrinsic motivation. So, what are some of the problems that we have, especially in terms of STEM education? Well, we see that the industries within the STEM sciences in the US are doing well. We are looking at 230,000 jobs being added, but only 30,000 graduates being actually available to take them on. There is about 28% growth within these fields. So we can honestly and sincerely recommend this line of work to students as a sustainable, as a career-making direction. However, if we were to look at some of the realities of STEM education, about 48% of bachelor degree candidates and 69% of associate degree candidates within STEM are dropping out. So we have high attrition rates away from STEM. And so there are many reasons for that, many difficult things to conquer. However, intrinsic motivation is one of them. So let's take a look at the application that is trying to address this. This particular application uses gamification, which is a way to introduce game elements in non-game environments. Specifically, this set of game tools is starting with a gamification leaderboard. So I'm logged in as a student, and I will go ahead and click on the LTI link to get logged in. At this point, a REST API was able to gather data for this class. There are only 3 students within this class. What it shows is that my progress would be a little bit below average. 0 here actually defines the average of the class. So I can put myself in the background of the class and see the progress of my efforts. So this alone, a leaderboard, is not necessarily a perfect way to motivate all students. Achievers will go ahead and look at this and maybe get some motivation. However, what we can do next is quite exciting, and that is we can simulate what would happen with my grade if I had a different instructor. So we'll do that. Just press the button. There it is. Things have changed. Now, you might say, all right, this is just not, realistic. However, the science tells us of teaching and learning that instructors make tremendous difference in the learning of students. Now, just a little background reading here. Now, an old post, but taking us back to dysfunctional illusions of rigor in college courses. The first illusion of rigor is that hard courses weed out weak students, and when students fail, it is primarily due to inability, weak preparation, or lack of effort. Well, in fact, more realistic view is that when students fail, it is often due to the inappropriate pedagogy. Substantial improvements were produced even in classes traditionally regarded as unnecessarily difficult, among them calculus, physics, chemistry, and so forth. So can instructors make a difference? Yes, they can. The second illusion of rigor is that traditional methods of instructions offer effective ways of teaching content to undergraduates. Modes that pamper students teach less. That's the illusion. More realistic view is that there are papers that talk about it. So living with myths, undergraduate education in America, The evidence reviewed is clear that the lecture model is not ineffective. Remember that in introductory physics classes taught with traditional lectures usually learn about 23% of what they collectively missed on the pretest. Lectures do indeed teach something, but the evidence is equally clear that these conventional methods are not as effective as some other far less frequently used methods. The comparison still from physics is that alternative methods teach on average twice as much as traditional lectures. So we're talking active learning, we're talking many methods, clickers, things like that, that enable students. Going back to the 80s, Dr. Bloom talked about tutoring, moving 2 standard deviations forward the grades of students. So going back to our software, changing instructor then is a very important realization for students that their failure, as much as they have their own responsibility in learning, can be attached to strategies of certain instructors. Now, within Blackboard Learn, we have the same courses, different instructors, we can do many different comparisons. In addition to changing an instructor, we can simulate a semester. So we're taking this during fall. What if we took it during wintertime? What if we're to take it during summertime? We have statistics available from previous student courses and within the school. So we can go ahead and simulate the semester. Now, this this software at this point then has 2 elements. There is the pledge, and the pledge is just that the data that you see, so I'll reset the data. The data that you see comes from Blackboard Learn. So the initial screen is going to go ahead and show us what is currently in the gradebook. That's the pledge. And then again, some leaderboards work. Some are discouraging, especially based on gender, but that's the pledge. The twist is that changing the instructor actually is scientifically proven that can make a big difference in student progress. So let's just for a moment talk about the user experience here. We have very simple user design. We have just 3 buttons here to work with. We are able to resize the screen. I'll go ahead and do that. So I'm resizing the screen. You can see that the graph is resizing with it for responsive design. We are able to resize, of course, the graphic. Now the app actually works and it is ready for adoption. So the blog post that accompanies this video will give instructors, administrators, and students instructions on how to use the system right now. So it's end-to-end working. Now the app takes into consideration security and accessibility in that it is secured through encryption. Now, for any nerds out there, it's actually encrypted with Let's Encrypt, which happens to be free SSL encryption. Look it up. It really works, and we're demonstrating this in this project. User credentials are never stored in the app. Data is not stored. And when it comes to privacy, the names that you see, other than my name, the other names of students are actually randomized. So they are just creating sort of a perception of other individuals, but their grades are real, their names are not. In terms of accessibility, right? How do we make a graph like this accessible? Well, some of the recommendations for WCAG 2.0 are to provide a table that's readable, and so that's what we have. Now, the cool thing is that as we do our calculations, the table updates automatically, and so someone who cannot see the graph will not miss out on anything. And so this, of course, is not a trivial implementation. All right, moving forward then to the impact of this particular software. This app can be a game changer. Why? Because it shows grades to be not a true representation of the potential of students. And in fact, it helps us to see that failure in academic environments is something that is necessary for learning, but that it's not the end of the world, and it does not squarely fall on the student when it happens. Because courses are poorly designed games. They cater towards achievers, not towards socializers or even explorers, but personalities that are based on achievement. And we really have to take a step back to realize that failure, uh, especially at school, is viewed from Napoleon's point of view of who introduced meritocracy to the Western culture, which means that anybody can succeed if they put in the effort, and so you give a medal to those who perform well. Well, the Greeks knew a little bit better, I think, way back when they kept communicating through plays called tragedies, and individuals in those plays were real. They were good people, like Oedipus, for example, and terrible things happened to them, not because of their own fault or their bad performance, but because life is full of tragedies, accidents, and things out of our control. So, what gamification is teaching us is that, yes, increasing performance and doing a lot of training and this kind of continuous improvement, that is necessary, but that success should not be defined the same way for everyone. Why is this app a must-have in education? Well, teachers have to be taught about illusions of rigor. And so to explain what the Change Instructor button does, they will have to read up on my blog there about that research. Um, the whole relationship between students and instructors, it needs to be modified, as in there's a collaboration to produce academic success, but there's collaboration even more importantly towards creating intrinsic motivation into the subject matter that is totally independent of grades. So this app, I encourage you to rate only after you read the blog posts that relate to it, that explain the science of it, and that really are showing not just the pledge, so the initial numbers, not just the twist in that the instructors uh, do make a big difference and they share in the success and the failure of students, but that you also read up on the prestige of what is behind this application. Thank you very much.